You're listening to From Stillness, an audiobook for a mind in need of quiet. It's strange, isn't it? We spend the entire day waiting for the evening, watching the clock, counting down to freedom, telling ourselves that once work ends, we'll finally do the things that matter, unwind properly, pursue something meaningful, maybe even feel alive again. But then it arrives. And what do we do with it? We scroll. We slump. We sit in that hazy space between tired and restless, too drained to be productive, too wired to rest. It's not laziness. It's a kind of quiet disorientation, the feeling of time slipping through your fingers, even when you're not sure what else to do with it. I know that feeling all too well. I've lived through hundreds of evenings that blurred into the same vague regret. Where did the time go? But here's what changed everything: the realization that evenings aren't just leftovers from the day. They're not recovery time, they're runway time. Time to refuel, reset, and even rise. You don't need another strict routine. You don't need guilt or hustle culture. What you need are practical systems, ones that work with your energy, not against it. Ones that help you reclaim your evenings as a space of purpose, not just passive escape. So, if this sounds like you, if your evenings have been slipping away quietly while you weren't looking, then stay with me. Because what comes next isn't theory, it's transformation. And once you start seeing your evenings differently, you'll realize they're not the end of the day. They're the beginning of everything else that matters. Most people try to fix their evenings by focusing on time. They set timers, write schedules, make long to-do lists, but it never really works, does it? Because the truth is, your problem isn't how little time you have. It's how little energy you've got left when you finally get it. Your evening doesn't need stricter time management. It needs better energy management. See, your body and mind aren't machines that work on command just because the clock says free time. By the time you close your laptop or walk through the front door, you're mentally cluttered, emotionally scattered, and physically tired. The idea of being productive feels heavy, so you crash, scroll, snack, stall. That's where a new system comes in. One that understands energy. One that works with your biology, not against it. Start with a shutdown ritual. It might sound small, but it's powerful. The moment you finish work, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Physically close your laptop. That's it. What you're doing isn't just closing a device, you're sending a message to your brain: work mode off. This creates a clean psychological line between your professional self and your personal one. Next comes the 90-minute evening block system. Think of your evening not as a giant, formless chunk of time, but as 3 focused blocks. First, recovery. No decisions, no effort, just decompress. Take a walk, lie down, listen to music. Let your system reset. Second, growth. This is when your energy begins to return. Use it to stretch, read, work on a hobby, or build a skill. And third, connection. By now, your mind is calmer. It's the perfect time to engage fully with loved ones, to have a real conversation, or simply share presence. But there's more. Flip how you plan. Instead of starting from the morning, start with when you want to sleep. Reverse engineer your evening so that every block builds toward better rest. And don't underestimate the power of small resets. Every time you switch tasks, take 2 minutes to clear your space, tidy the desk, dim the lights, change your clothes. These little rituals signal transition. They tell your brain, a new phase is beginning. This isn't a routine to follow. It's a rhythm to live by, one that meets your energy where it is and gently guides it toward who you want to become. We talk a lot about energy, about focus, about reclaiming our evenings, but here's a truth most people ignore. You can't fix your evening without first fixing your relationship with your screens. Your phone, your laptop, your endless tabs and notifications, they're not just distractions. They're energy vampires. Quiet, persistent, and incredibly skilled at draining the last bit of clarity you had left after a long day. But here's the good news. Technology isn't the enemy. The problem isn't that you're using it. It's that you're letting it use you. And that's something we can change. Not by going off-grid, but by setting gentle, deliberate boundaries. Let's start with something radical in its simplicity: the analog hour. 1 hour before bed, all devices go to sleep, in another room. Not on silent, not flipped face down next to your pillow. Out of sight. This creates a powerful message to your brain. Now we wind down. And what fills that hour? Anything real. Reading, journaling, stretching, sitting in silence. It's not about replacing screen time with productivity. It's about reclaiming peace. Next, try something called app mortality. Each evening, delete just one app from your phone. You can reinstall it tomorrow if you need to, but most of the time, you won't. You'll barely remember what was even there. This breaks the illusion of permanence, the belief that these apps own a place in your life by default. Now for the practical side, screen life separation tactics. Move your charger to the kitchen. Keep your laptop out of the bedroom. Use a real alarm clock instead of your phone. These physical changes create mental distance. They turn your bedroom back into a sanctuary, not a satellite office. The goal here isn't digital detox. It's digital intention. Choosing what serves you and letting go of what steals from you. Because once you learn how to master your tech, you don't just get your time back, you get your mind back. And that, more than anything, is what makes a powerful evening truly possible. If your body winds down in the evening, your mind often does the opposite. It replays, overthinks, drifts. That's because the mind doesn't shut off just because the clock says it should. So if you want to reclaim your evenings, you don't just need better routines, you need better mental transitions. And this begins with reprogramming how your brain relates to the end of the day. Let's start with a concept I call the digital sunset protocol. Your brain, quite literally, doesn't know the difference between sunlight and screen light. So when you're scrolling late into the night, your brain still thinks it's midday. The solution isn't just less screen time. It's a structured transition away from digital light and into mental calm. Dim the lights. Turn on warmer tones. Light a candle. These small sensory shifts tell your brain, we're entering the evening zone. Then there's the evening sanctuary. No, this isn't about plush cushions and aesthetic Pinterest boards. It's about crafting a physical space that signals calm to your subconscious. Think textures that soften your nervous system, colors that don't overstimulate, sounds that settle your thoughts. This isn't decoration, it's a psychological anchor. Now, here's a favorite technique, future self-journaling, but not the usual to-do lists. Instead, write to your morning self, not what you should do, but how you want to feel. Energized, calm, proud. Your brain, astonishingly, will begin reverse engineering tomorrow's actions based on that emotional intention. Shift your mindset from evening as leftover time to evening as investment time. This is the evening energy investment principle. Every act of rest, every bit of stillness, every deep breath, these aren't indulgences. They're deposits into tomorrow's clarity, focus, and resilience. And finally, one of the most powerful habits you can adopt, decision elimination. Your mind is tired by evening. Stop asking it to choose. Lay out your clothes, prep your breakfast, set up your workspace. Every choice you remove tonight is one less drain on tomorrow's willpower. This is where transformation lives, not in doing more, but in thinking differently about how your evening shapes your life. In the quiet of the evening, something powerful begins to surface, your emotions. Not the loud, obvious ones, but the subtle shifts, tension you didn't notice, sadness without a name, joy that flickered and left too quickly. Most of us rush past these moments on autopilot. We distract ourselves. We call it unwinding, but really, we're avoiding. And that's a missed opportunity because your emotions aren't interruptions, they're messages. And your evening is the perfect time to start listening. Start small. Forget the idea that mindfulness has to mean sitting still with your eyes closed for an hour. Think micro-meditation moments. When you pour your tea, feel the heat of the cup in your hand. When you sit down, notice how your body touches the chair. These tiny acts of presence, they reset your mind in ways no app or podcast ever could. Next, try what I call the evening awareness protocol. Once every hour, pause for 10 seconds and simply name the emotion you're feeling. That's it. No fixing, no judging, just naming. Research shows this simple act can reduce the emotional charge by nearly 40%. It's like shining a light on a shadow. Suddenly, it loses its grip. Then there's mindfulness anchoring. Choose 3 evening tasks you already do: brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, changing clothes, and turn them into rituals of presence. The goal isn't perfection. It's simply to return to yourself, one moment at a time. You can also begin emotional energy tracking. On a scale from 1 to 10, check in with your energy 3 times each evening. After 2 weeks, patterns will emerge. You'll start to see what lifts you, what drains you, and how your emotions flow. And finally, end your night with the evening emotional audit. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What energized me today? What drained me? What surprised me? You don't need paragraphs, just a few words. The act of noticing is what matters. Because in the end, emotional strength isn't about control. It's about understanding. And when you approach your feelings with curiosity instead of resistance, your evenings become more than restful. They become transformational. There's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. The exhaustion that comes from too much talking, too many interactions, too little depth. And yet, there's another kind of tiredness, one that disappears after a single, genuine conversation. That's the paradox of social energy. It can either drain you or recharge you. And your evenings are where this dynamic matters most. Think of your social energy like a battery. Some people and situations charge it, others deplete it. The key is learning to manage that battery, not by avoiding everyone, but by becoming more intentional with your interactions. Start by identifying your evening tribe, the few people who truly get you. Not the 20 acquaintances you feel obligated to text back, but the 3 to 5 souls who nourish your spirit. These are the ones who know when to speak and when to just sit beside you in silence. Protect these relationships. They are your emotional home base. Next, run an energy vampire audit. This isn't about labeling people as bad, it's about recognizing patterns. Which evening conversations leave you feeling depleted? Which ones lift you up? This awareness allows you to time your connections wisely. Maybe a certain friend is best in the morning, not when you're winding down. Honor that. Here's another strategy, the social recharge protocol. For every hour of social interaction in the evening, plan at least 15 minutes of quiet time after. Just like you cool down after a workout, your nervous system needs space to settle. And here's a mindset shift that changed everything for me. Connection is productivity. We often separate socializing from getting things done. But what if an evening talk with someone you love is exactly what your creativity and mental health needed? Your social world isn't a distraction from your evening flow, it's a vital part of it. But only if you choose it carefully. Because when you align your connections with your energy, your evenings become not just restful, but deeply human. Most people fail to build evening habits not because they lack motivation, but because they try to force themselves into rigid, unnatural routines. They create massive checklists, set unrealistic expectations, and when it all collapses after a few days, they blame their discipline. But the real problem? They're building habits like engineers when they should be thinking like architects. Instead of forcing change, try designing it gently into your environment. Start with something called micro-habit stacking. The idea is simple. Link tiny behaviors to moments that already happen. When you walk through your front door, hang your keys. Then take off your shoes. Then change into comfortable clothes. 3 habits, under a minute, completely automatic. No resistance, no overthinking. Then find your evening keystone habit, that one small action that naturally sets off the rest. For some, it's lighting a candle. For me, it's making a cup of tea. That sound of water boiling? That's my mind's signal, evening mode, activated. Once this anchor is set, the rest flows more easily. Avoid the one hobby forever trap. Instead, try building a rotation wheel of evening activities, maybe reading, sketching, playing music, or learning something new. Rotate through them. This keeps your brain engaged and curious, and prevents the boredom that kills consistency. Here's something playful, the daily experiment protocol. Each night, try just one small new thing, Sit in a different spot, use your non-dominant hand, play a song you've never heard. These tiny experiments keep your mind flexible and your evenings fresh. And finally, allow your evening creativity to mix and evolve. Creative cross-pollination is where real transformation lives. Doodle while listening to music. Read aloud. Build connections between your hobbies. When you blend activities, your brain starts forming new neural pathways, the kind that make you feel fully alive. The secret to lasting evening habits isn't pressure, it's play, it's presence. And it's the courage to build rituals that feel like you, not like someone else's idea of productive. Let's be honest, most evening routines fail, not because the ideas are bad, but because they ignore the most important ingredient, your energy. You can have the perfect plan, the ideal setup, the best intentions. But if your mind is foggy and your body is drained, nothing sticks. That's why sustainable evening routines aren't built around willpower. They're built around energy awareness. First, stop thinking you need a full workout after work. What you need are movement snacks, tiny bursts of motion that wake up your body without exhausting it. Stretch for 60 seconds. Do 5 jumping jacks between tasks. Stand up and walk around every half hour. These micro movements don't just keep you loose, they reoxygenate your brain, sharpen your attention, and gently lift your mood. Evening energy isn't flat, it flows like a wave. Most people dip between 5 and 7 p.m., then rise again around 7:30. After 9, it starts to taper off. If you try to push through the dip or squeeze too much into the crash, you end up fighting your biology. Instead, align your evening activities with the curve. Do low-energy tasks during the dip, then save creative or connective moments for the rise. Want real insight? Become your own evening scientist. Run an energy audit for 1 week. Rate your energy every hour from 1 to 10, and jot down what you were doing, eating, thinking. Patterns will emerge, and they'll surprise you. Suddenly, you'll stop blaming yourself for being lazy and start seeing the rhythm your body's been trying to tell you all along. Another essential tool? A thought diet. By evening, your brain's decision-making reserves are nearly empty. Be selective about what you feed it. Endless scrolling is mental junk food. But a deep conversation, a quiet walk, or 10 minutes of journaling. That's fuel. That's brain nutrition. In the end, managing your energy isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, more wisely. When you stop pushing against your natural rhythms and start working with them, your evening becomes not just manageable, but magnetic. You've heard a lot so far: systems, strategies, techniques. But real transformation doesn't come from isolated ideas. It comes from integration, the ability to connect these practices into a rhythm that feels natural, flexible, and fully yours. Think of your evening not as something separate from the rest of your life, but as the quiet foundation everything else is built on. And one of the most effective ways to create that foundation is through a life-work separation ritual. Not a wall, not a rule, a bridge. Take 15 minutes between work and evening life. Move slowly. Shift the lighting. Change clothes. Stretch. Breathe. With every step, you're crossing from duty into presence. This mindset shift is key. Boundaries aren't about restriction, they're about clarity. Just like training a puppy with gentle repetition instead of shouting, you guide your attention back, again and again, to what truly matters. When work thoughts try to sneak into dinner, into rest, into connection, don't fight them. Just gently redirect. Back to the book. Back to the breath. Back to the person in front of you. This is where integration lives, not in doing everything perfectly, but in continually returning to intention. And finally, understand this. Your evening isn't a break from life. It is life. Every small ritual, every mindful pause, every conscious choice, they're not just winding you down, they're building you up. Because the version of you that wakes up tomorrow morning, they're being created tonight. Your evening isn't just the end of a long day, it's the beginning of who you're becoming. That's the quiet truth we often miss. While the world winds down, you're given a sacred window, not just to recover but to reclaim. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your clarity. Reclaim your time from the noise, the distractions, the autopilot. What you choose to do or not do each evening quietly shapes your mindset, your habits, your tomorrow. And it doesn't take dramatic change. The most powerful transformations begin in small, intentional acts: turning off a screen, lighting a candle, journaling for 5 minutes, choosing silence over scroll, choosing presence over pressure. The key isn't to be perfect, it's to be aware, to notice how your energy rises and falls, to listen when your mind says enough, to care for your space, your body, and your relationships gently but consistently. Start with one shift tonight, one small ritual, one act of clarity, and watch how that ripple expands, not just into your evening, but into your identity. Because the life you want to live, it doesn't start in the morning. It starts the moment you decide your evening matters.